All right, Mike, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you here.
Pleasure to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
No, of course. I know we had, a little bit of back and forth getting scheduled, but your name kept popping up from people that I asked or people that had recommendations for the podcast, and we had so many mutuals that it had to happen. So, welcome to the show, and if you wouldn't mind kicking off with a quick blurb background on who you are, what you do, where you live, and then we'll dive deep and talk about business and systems.
Yeah, that sounds good. And to your point, yeah, I've been hearing about you for quite some time too. It's like we were just saying offline, a lot of the same circles, which I enjoy about this industry. You see a lot of those same names pop up on Facebook and Instagram over and over again. You can't connect with everybody, but eventually when you do, you're like, I kind of feel like there's some baseline here, a foundation. We're on the same path. Good stuff.
100%.
I love it, man. Well, good to be here. Thank you. My name is Mike Stone. I'm a short-term rental realtor as well as a short-term rental property manager here in Arizona. I live in Phoenix. I operate in both Phoenix and Scottsdale. I'm trying to curate a really nice deal right now in Paradise Valley to open that up, which is kind of like dead center between Phoenix and Scottsdale. We're all in like a 15, 20-minute driving radius. And so it's cool to kind of have a really good insight into the valley and what performs well. I know every block in this place, for all three of these major cities. And I'm also starting to expose myself now more to Sedona. I've gone as a traveler and a guest a number of times and had a great time up there. I love Sedona. It's beautiful. But now to actually start operating up there will be my next endeavor. I have a couple clients interested in purchasing luxury short-term rentals with like mountain views and the whole amenity play. We can get all into that in the show today too, because that's my favorite angle is when you start pushing the heavy amenities and the heavy guest experience, because that also, if you do it right, can really drive the appreciation in your property. Plus, set yourself up nicely for the cash flow. So that's kind of been where I'm at this last few months, is getting situated with the real estate sales as well as the property management. I've been doing the property management for about 4 years now. Actually, we're coming up on my fourth anniversary. So yeah, it's been a good time for 4 years of short-term rentals. About a year into the game, I also got really into midterm rentals, working with insurance companies. So I've been doing that for 3 of the 4 years as well. And that business is now growing very nicely too. I put some more effort into that recently, so the midterm rental game has been lucrative.
Cool.
And
Awesome.
I'm really enjoying it.
Really, really good stuff. So just from, I guess, a more like detailed picture, can you give us
Yeah.
an idea of what the business looks like from, let's say, I don't know, volume of the realtor business or properties that you manage number wise or properties that you own, just so
Yeah.
people can kind of have like a pie chart view of what you have going on.
Sure, yeah, yeah. So right now the real estate sales is my newest thing. It's brand new, but it's my most important thing. I got onboarded with Tyler Kuhn. I'm sure a lot of the listeners here will know Tyler Kuhn, and if you don't, you should. He's one of the best short-term rental realtors in the game right now and has started a whole team, including a national expansion team of we have I think 34 agents who all focus exclusively on short-term rental investors. Now, of course, we could help another investor who doesn't want to do the short-term rental play or potentially a residential sale. But generally, we are dialed in because it's such a specific niche. And what I found, the risk of being a little bit rude to other realtors out there is most realtors don't know short-term rentals. They don't get it. And what I've seen in my management business that I'll mention in a sec is I get this call all the time. Hey, Mike, I just bought a property in Scottsdale. How do you think it could perform as a short-term rental? And I'm like, you didn't think to ask me that before you put 200,000 down on $1 million property? Like that didn't occur to you sooner that you should. So I get that call. I got that call a handful of times. And one of the ways that I want to help those people is to connect with them in advance and just walk them through the process. Here's your pro forma. Here's why. Here's how it could change on this specific property if you do X or skip Y. And
Yep.
then how it compares to all the other properties. Because actually, what's his face? John Bianchi from STR Search posted something yesterday that I thought was really good. He's like, it takes 2 years to realize that you screwed up an Airbnb because you're going to spend the first year doing your best to operate. And the second year, you'd be like, dang, like maybe now I should start looking for management. But if you bought wrong in the wrong location, even in a good neighborhood, your property could just be underperforming for its entire life. It could just be the wrong door and there's nothing you could do. And if you don't know that in advance, you put yourself in a bad spot. Whereas if you do, you just don't do that deal. So I'm really pushing right now to expand my entire STR ecosystem. I'm pretty vertically integrated by leading with the sales, and let me get you into the right property with the right strategy up front Then after that, I can help with the build out. So I have two clients right now I'm working on build outs. One is a $500,000 renovation that is on a $3 million property. And when I say amenity heavy, this lady is going all in. She didn't say no to a thing. So we're talking about the pool is going to have a swim up bar now, as well as a hot tub. And I think she might have had the hot tub. She's upgrading it. We're going to do an observation deck on the roof because she didn't have mountain views unless you're on her roof. So we're going to add like the glass, almost New York City style bulletproof protective glass with binoculars, and you can see the mountains out into the distance. So that'll be cool. A pickleball, of course, is a given right now in Scottsdale. Tech Fester and everybody's doing that, and it's working. So yeah, just cool like golf simulator inside, like heavy amenities. So that build out part has been part of the plan. She happened to own the house. I wasn't her realtor, but I got a midterm rental contract for her. She was making $33,000 a month, and I was managing it for 5 months. It was a very lucrative contract for me as well. By the end of that, she's like, let's keep this rolling. I said, here's what you need to do to build it out, amenity heavy, to make it an optimal guest experience and get you the most ROI. And we were going through with different companies like STR Cribs Consulting and Summer Led Designs Consulting on, well, what amenities are going to drive the most ROI here specifically in this part of Scottsdale at this level of luxury. And when you can be that specific, it's really helpful for people. So that's the build out and the design process. And then I have 6 properties under management, a 7th that I'm going to help her sell, and then a couple more onboarding right now. I've had as many as 35, 22 at a time, but I started cutting properties that, well, some were good. I was helping people sell, and that was part of the plan, and it's all good. Just, get in, do a thing, and then move on. But then I cut like 6 doors earlier this year, 4 in particular that were just a nightmare, like low quality guests, a lot of maintenance, low quality, just a low quality experience with the homeowner trying to pay for things that they didn't think they should pay for that would have actually saved them money long term. Just a battle. And so I'm moving more now into the luxury space, not only through the sales, but even just on the management. I operate high-end doors now, and I much prefer that. I thought when I got into co-hosting that I'd want to scale to 50. And then I realized quickly I don't want 50 owners. And so I hired 50 clients. So I'm looking now more at like getting back to 20. I was comfortable at 20. And then maybe scaling in other ways, like focusing on the realtor, my own investments, and different things like that. So it's been 4 years of managing that, and now we're onboarding a handful more this month, and then the last piece is called fractional sales. So it's kind of like what we're doing here, but the investors aren't guaranteed a return, and so what we'll do is we've acquired we're tied up a $5 million and a $7.5 million property. We're going to sell them each for 6.5 and 9.5 respectively in fractions of eighth shares. So the person who buys the $6.5 million house, the 8 guys putting in $800,000 each, or ladies, of course, putting $800,000 each. And then you get about 6 weeks a year of rights to that property to use it yourself, enjoy a luxury vacation, or to rent it out as a short-term rental. And so you could make money, but you can't guarantee it or else it's security. So we're just playing the personal use game. So totally vertically integrated from find, build, design, operate, and then do weird stuff to exit.
Got it. Very cool. On the management side
Yep.
versus like ownership, have you dabbled with owning any individual properties yourself, or have you kind of gone straight away into this like fractional model, or do you just prefer the co-hosting management model to owning anything individual yourself?
So I'm on path right now. I am only co-hosting, but the goal is to use the money that I'm making and saving to acquire my first rental. It will definitely be a short-term rental here in Scottsdale. I'd consider Sedona, but I feel more comfortable here in Scottsdale. I just know it so much better. So for my own investment, I'd probably stick around here and start my wealth building ownership journey that way. I've pulled together a couple really cool deals that I would have had substantial equity on, and for one reason or another, they haven't come together yet. But I do expect to get equity in the fractional sales deals that we're working on if they come to fruition. Still a little early in that, so I don't want to say that it's a done deal, but things are moving. So that might be my first access into real estate before I even buy an individual rental, which will be cool.
Okay, cool. So a bunch of things we could dig into here. I guess just in order that I was jotting down some
Yeah.
notes. You mentioned we a few times. I do it too, and sometimes it's just me, but do you have anyone that helps you with the day-to-day of what you do? Any assistants, any people under you, partners, like to sort of divide and conquer the workload that you have?
Yeah, that actually is probably a good topic for some of your listeners. I built my business a little bit differently than I was advised as far as the team is concerned. So I came up in STR Secrets. Everybody should know Mike Sjogren and his uh, dynasty of educating short-term rental co-hosts. I learned from him that I should get a VA, and I never really worked well with VAs. I got a VA through his service. I got a VA through another service. I wasn't good at it because I have really high standards and I communicate very fast and I'm not very patient. It's tough to work for me, I admit that. So when I'm trying to vibe with a VA, it was often challenging where I'm like, I don't understand why you don't understand what I'm saying. And they're like, I don't even have a clue what you're saying. So it was pretty large chasm with my first couple of VAs. And then I started looking for locals. The local I hired first was a friend of mine, a guy named Patricio, who was an absolute rock star. He came in actually in a summer when I was really struggling. I was first starting the business. It was not going well for a number of reasons with bad arbitrage deals. I don't do arbitrage anymore for that reason, but Patricio stepped up for me and he would come in. It was flexible. It was, maybe 20 hours a week. He'd show up when he felt like it. He'd leave when he felt like it. We were very cool. And he would just pick up some of the pieces on the back end, but he was smart and he was local. So he could run to a property. He could, do what he's got to do. And then we could have high level intellectual conversation about strategy in the office. And I really liked that. I liked the local model better than the VA model, despite the fact that it cost me probably double at that point, now triple. So Patricio ended up moving on. He had another business. It was always part of the plan that he was going to stick with his Turo business and coaching soccer. So he moved on. I found another girl. She was great while it lasted. And then pretty also, I'd say organically ended. But it was good to have local support from her. When she left, I already had in the wings my current assistant, Ava Kate, who is a rock star. She does everything I need, holds down the fort, and complements my skill set. I'm really good with words. I'm an attorney before this, so I'm really verbally adept. I can write really well, but I cannot do art for the life of me. So my marketing is hilarious and abysmal, and I can't do it. My brain doesn't work with art. So she comes in and she does all our graphic design, all our marketing. She's building landing pages. She's building websites from scratch. Meanwhile, she's also communicating with the guests, running to properties, filling a hot tub. Last night we're dealing with a reviewed issue that I don't usually deal with anymore from a low quality guest. And she just knows how my brain works. Oh, we'll say this and this just so that we get the review taken down. And then I got to send this claim through so that it shows that he's retaliating against us for asking for towel payments. She just gets it now. So she's been phenomenal to have as a strategic partner, as an artistic partner, and then just getting some of the stuff off my plate. After that, we did end up hiring a VA. The VA, though, is very much focused on our midterm rental game. I still don't feel inclined. I don't feel the pain of my guest comms between Ava and I that I need a VA for the guest comms right now. So when I scale back up, I'll need it. I know how it felt at 10, 20 properties, but right now, with what we're going on with, I'm mostly focused on other things, the build out, the fractional. There's just other things taking space in my brain where I'm not really trying to solve the VA STR thing yet, but the MTR VA has been great. They search for properties for us. They try to get us leads. And so I'm getting better at managing a VA just through having her in an easier space. That said, I recognize that I'm in the minority and I wouldn't necessarily advise it. It is expensive. And if you can do it with a VA and you have the personality and the patience for a VA, that may be a better option for you, but I'm very happy to have a local and an intellectual that, not that a VA can't be smart, but to speak strategically with a boots on the ground partner, actually, I think makes me better in a lot of important ways.
How did you find those first two people? You said you had two before your current assistant.
Yeah.
How did you
So
find them?
the first one was there's a book called 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss that I don't actually love. A lot of people do. I kind of think it's a little bit lazy. But anyway, that it shouldn't be lazy. His intention is systems, and he had a recommendation for a company called Brickwork out of India that supposedly is, amazing VAs. I think I have to take responsibility for much
Oh,
of the
I'm
distribution.
sorry, Mike. I meant the local people. You said you found two
Oh,
local people. People, we talk about VAs all the time, and there's.
gotcha.
But what I find really interesting in your situation, people struggle sometimes finding local people that could be, their local
Yep.
personal assistant or local helper, or local person they
Cool.
could be strategic with. So
Yep.
it's interesting because you've found three people. Sounds like they were all great.
Yeah.
Just curious, and you said they were kind of organic. So curious how they kind of came into working with you or your life.
Cool. Yeah, my pleasure. So Patricio came first. He and I knew each other. I don't even remember how we knew each other, but we knew each other initially. So he was in my in my world. Oh, I remember. He called me once because he was a loan officer when I was trying to do a big deal. Nothing ever came of the deal, but when we were on the phone, he was like, Mike, your business is awesome. I was like, thank you. I really appreciate that. He goes, no, I really like what you do. It sounds very cool. I'd love to learn. And I like talking to you. Like, can you teach me? I would do anything to work for you. And I was like, well, when you say it like that, I'm not going to say no. Like, let's find a way to make this work. And like I said, it was in the summer that I was really doing poorly. So it was a poor financial decision by every metric, but I just had a good feeling about the guy. And bringing him in, he was able to help me in a way that I think made me better, made the business more money, got us back on track. So yes, it was expensive, but super worth it. So anyway, it was just, like I said, he's a loan officer. We were talking and he wanted in. So I
Hmm.
started training him up and we just made it super casual. He had a business on the side of his loan officer job. The business was Turo, and he had like 3 or 4 cars that he was, servicing and servicing guests. So I was like, Turo is the Airbnb of cars. You get what we do. We have maintenance issues, we have guest communications, and we have a software that runs the whole thing, and we pay out the back end. Not much new, just how do we do it with houses? And he was interested in real estate with the loan officer background. So it was very easy to transition him. But I think the key thing that made it work was my flexibility. I said, dude, you don't have hours. I need help. If you show up, I'll give you stuff to do. If you're not here, no problem. Let's bank on approximately 20. And if we hit some sort of consistent rhythm, great. You show up, I can start to expect you, but no pressure. So he'd consistently come in around 10 a.m. But some mornings be like, hey, I'm just not coming in today. No problem. If we had a deadline, he wouldn't do that to me. He was just like, if he was just helping me pick up the pieces, right? And so, or he'd be like, hey, I have nothing going on this weekend. You want me to work on Saturday? Yeah, absolutely. Let's run it. So it's just very fluid and flexible. Or he'd end the day with, I got to go drop a car for the Turo business. No problem. So I just made it easy for him. So there's no friction. That lasted for probably a year, maybe a little bit less than a year, and then I always knew he wasn't going to be Airbnb forever. He liked the business as a thing, but he was really a family guy. He wanted to coach soccer and he wanted to keep his Turo business going.
Sure.
So I was just a piece, so no big deal.
Got it.
When he left, I interviewed with another potential client, a builder who wanted me to arbitrage 2 of his 5-bedroom homes, and I was like, dude, these properties won't make any money at all. Let alone if I'm arbitraging and we're both trying to make money, like not a shot. But when I was there, he had an assistant next to him, Dana, who was kind of running his whole business, and that guy was closing his business up to move on into more of a consulting role than a builder type of role. And he's like, I just don't have work for her anymore. But he said to me when we were sitting there, he goes, Mike, like if you're looking for help, I pay her 60 grand a year. I'll pay her when we don't even have things to do because she's so good that when I do need her, she's there, she's on the ball. Like it's worth it, I'm telling you. So again, I was like, Patricio's on the way out and I want a local. And that's a pretty good sales pitch. So let me at least consider it. And so she came in, she was organized, she was on the ball, like especially in the beginning. I mean, she was just cranking out everything that she needed to for me because her line was, I like real estate, but I know that real estate business people and entrepreneurs hate office work. I'm good at office work. That's what I want to do. People are wired like that. To me, that's crazy. I would rather die than have that job. But she was fired up for it. So I was like, all right, great. Different strokes for different folks. Let's put you in that role. She thrived for a while, and it was good while it lasted. It like I said,
Hmm.
terminated pretty organically as well. She got another real estate office job, and they paid her more. It was less stressful than some STR stuff. Fine, no big deal. I already had Ava in the wings. Ava was my cleaner. I found her on Turnover B&B. So
Hmm.
she was, I needed a cleaner. I looked at every profile. Her profile had good reviews. A lot of them do on Turnover. That wasn't a game changer, but she had good reviews. She had a nice professional picture compared to like other people, the sideways hat and the chains. And it's like, all right, like, yeah, I bet you could clean my house with your 5-star reviews, but like, she's looking professional and smiling with like a cleaning lady bonnet. I was like, all right, let's do this person instead. And she was so good. For the first time in a long time, I didn't have any cleaning related stress. Not a
Hmm.
missed razor, not a dirty towel that didn't get bleached, like nothing went missing. And I was like, damn, this girl's good. And she wanted to keep kind of climbing up. So she's like, can you give me some office work? Can you give me some more? Like, what else can I do to be a part of this business? And it got to a point where she was so good at the admin and the art and the marketing. I was like, you know what? I don't know that you need to be the cleaner anymore. Let's just hire a cleaner. That's replaceable. Your brain is not. So she was just thrilled to start escalating. And it's honestly a beautiful story. I'll just say it real quick because I'm proud of her. She was sleeping in a car in a Walmart parking lot when we met. Yeah, yeah, and she was moving away from home, which was not great. And so she moved here. She was sleeping in her car, And then we met and she started cleaning, and I obviously didn't know that. She didn't say that. So she starts cleaning and doing better and doing better. And I'm like, damn, this girl's just on it. I love her. So next thing you know, she starts doing more admin and coming up in the office. Now she's the CEO of my MTR business. I do very little. She runs pretty much everything on the fulfillment side of STR. I'm still business development, but she's doing that, and she's helping me on the realtor stuff. She's just all over the place. She goes, I manage Mike. It's what's your job? She goes, I manage Mike. It doesn't matter, what job, what company, what offshoot of what we're doing. She's just on it. So yeah, in summary, it was a friend who I just gave flexibility, an assistant of a real estate guy who wanted to move onward and upward with her life as he was moving on, and then turnover B&B, escalating a cleaner who gets the game. In each of the three areas, it was somewhat tied to either real estate or short-term rentals in some capacity with someone who was young and motivated. And that to me was super helpful. I've tried local moms, and there's a lot of value in that for runners, but it's not a lot of value in that for, okay, come to the office, sit down strategically. This is our mission. This is how we're building our wealth. All three of them wanted to build wealth, especially Ava Kate, on this path. And so that I found really helpful, young people.
100%. So interesting. What I take from that is just being out there and having a network. And if you have a need, let people know what you're looking for. They may know someone or someone on
Yeah,
their team. It just people they can't help you if they don't know what you need help with.
it's
And
so
putting it
true.
out there, it's sort of casting like a billboard. Doesn't have to be salesy or pushy, but if you get it out there, there's a better chance it'll come back to you. And it sounds
Yeah.
like that's what happened in all your cases, which is really cool. So that's
I'll,
awesome.
I'll even just add this little cherry on top, which is when I posted in a Facebook group. I think I put two posts into two Facebook groups, Arizona short-term rentals and another maybe a year ago for a runner. I had like 50 comments, and 8 of them were vicious. Like, you are underpaying these people, and how could you? And sounds like you should just be paying your own team. Why don't you do it yourself? Mean people. And then 42 people are like, I would do that. I have a sister. I have a friend. So yeah, just put yourself out there. Don't get caught up in your own limiting beliefs about what can or cannot happen. Someone is in some situation somewhere where it makes sense for them to align with you. It just
Mm,
exists. I couldn't have predicted that I needed a Turo guy, a folding business, or a cleaner. Maybe a cleaner is a little predictable as an option, but like it comes to fruition.
for sure. I love that. Okay, changing gears here a little bit. I want
Sure.
to talk about the like brokerage stuff that you're doing
Cool.
for Tyler. It seems like that's your main focus and you're
Yeah,
excited about it. It's growing. There's a lot of brokers and realtors that listen to the show or just people that are curious about like customer acquisition. It's the main thing I think about all day with what I'm trying to do. How
absolutely.
do I get customers? How do I get more meetings, leads? How do I get my name out there? I don't want to be too salesy, but I need to do certain things. And, like what is the most effective way to have a full pipeline of leads and people? So, as you think about growing that business, what have you found to be the best methods of finding leads or finding prospects or actually finding qualified leads that could help move it forward and drive your business?
Cool. Yeah, I have 3 paths to leads that have been working out really nicely. The first one is I got to show gratitude to Tyler Kuhn, the work that he's done, and the team. Trish, Scott, and Alana on the back end, plus the VA team, are so organized and put
Mm,
so much effort into marketing. Everybody knows Tyler, and he's so good at his job that when he puts people in these good investments, and then years later they're like, "Wow, I'm making a ton of money. I gotta tell my friends, buy another, this and that." Tyler has built this savvy STR agents team, and Trish has built the expansion team outside of North Carolina. Now they're all the way west. I'm in Arizona. There's a new Utah guy, a new Joshua Tree guy, and so she's building this whole thing up with just being organized and putting themselves out there with marketing, so they are able to send me a ton of leads of short-term rental specific investors. And literally, I walked in one day, and when I was interviewing with them, I walked in, or figuratively, I was on the Zoom call. And so I walk into my Zoom call, and she's like, we have 60 people who have expressed some level of interest, maybe warm, maybe hot, maybe cold, but like some level of interest in an Arizona short-term rental. So I started with 60, and I've been talking to a handful of them already. I can't even help 60 people out of the gate, but I'm talking to a few of them already. So that's been tremendous. I'm just happy to be a part of the team. Outside of that, I'm just reaching out to people who might want to sell their existing Vacasa listing or any other low quality company like that. Shots fired at Vacasa Evolve. Good night stay is abysmal. It's like, all right, talk some shit. Like you're not good. So if I call you and I'm like, hey, how are you performing? Well, I'm stressed with the cleaners and I'm stressed with the maintenance and I'm stressed with the capex that keeps stacking because nobody's checking on the water heater or the hot tub, and the returns they promised me aren't that great. Or Evolve's doing the thing where you pick your lowest acceptable nightly rate, and they're more often than not going to set it at that because they want you to get booked. And so I'm not making as much money as I thought. Whatever it is, I'm reaching out to you now directly just from that list of current owners saying, look, do you want to get out? Like, this is, I could tell it's not going well for you. I could offer you better management services if you just want to hold the property. But if you just want to bounce, I can get you. So that's been the other thing. And then number 3 is just Ava Kate's boots on the ground marketing. We're in Facebook groups. We're just putting ourselves out there. We're letting people know what we're up to. And that's, just grassroots, letting everybody know what I'm doing with social media. And you'll see, I'm going to start doing a lot more content. Last year I did 7 months of daily content. I didn't miss a day. And then I stopped. It wasn't worth the time because I didn't hire a VA and the VAs weren't cutting it the way I like. Again, I'm not good with VAs, right? So I was doing it all myself and not the moves. I was like, you know what? Let me put this on the back burner for a little bit and focus on my other businesses. But now it's tied in so well that it'll help with Savvy that I'm going to get back on the content game and trying to provide free value, and hopefully just letting people know that I know what I'm talking about. So if you want my advice, I'll put you in a position to go make money. So that's the main 3.
That makes sense. What do you find is the biggest challenge growing that business right now?
I'll be honest, I don't think it's been that challenging yet. I'm only in it a couple months, so it's early, but it's been relatively organized. People want short-term rentals, and when they do, they want help from someone who knows what they're talking about. Sales is less, in my opinion, about the sale because that's the aggression and the hunt from our perspective. If you come from a place of service, the buyer wants to buy. Think of yourself in any cool thing you've ever bought and think of something big, not like a phone, like something you really wanted, a nice car, I don't know. You want to buy. You do want to, but you want to buy to spend your money with a professional who knows what they're talking about to get you the outcome that you're actually there to buy. So if you're there and they're like, hey, I can get you this outcome, but you don't really trust them, well, then you're not really operating in a place of service, education, and putting them into a emotional composite where they agree with what you're saying. So you never really get to that outcome. And if you do build that emotional composite, but you don't actually know what you're talking about, then they may like you, but you're going to put them in a bad spot. And that's what you see from traditional realtors. Again, excuse me for the realtors who are listening who are not STR specific, or at least not STR informed. But how many times I'll talk to realtors, oh, this is a good deal. Then why is this number red? That's the number that goes into my pants pocket at the end of the month. Why is that red if it's a good deal? Well, it's because I get commission, because it's a good school district, stuff that has nothing to do with short-term rentals. Oh, it might appreciate. Maybe, but if you don't know the short-term rental side of it and you're cash flow negative for the 8 months that you're holding it until you realize that it might appreciate, like now you're just scrambling to get yourself out and hopefully break even. You didn't have to be in that position in the first place. You could have entered strategically with somebody that you trust, who knows what they're talking about. And that's where it's all come from, a place of service. And if you're in that position as a buyer, you want to buy. People don't like money. They like that money buys stuff. So you want to buy a short-term rental for ego, for status, for investment play, for anything. I can get you what you want. I'll let you trust me. I'll educate you on why this is what you want, not the one that you thought was shiny. And then I'll put you in a position where you're going to be making money over and over again. To me, that's why Tyler Kuhn has been so successful. That's why the rest of the Savvy team has been successful. And that's the approach that I'm taking of like, of course you want to buy this. It is a good idea, but let's build a relationship. And then let me show you why this one is a good idea, not just any house in the short-term rental game.
Really cool. What do you see as being more profitable for you or being like a busier, bigger part of the business, buying or selling on the brokerage side?
I think it's going to be selling. And the reason I say that is because on the first front is just selling less work than buying as an agent. It just is as a matter of time. And I'm much more critical of how do I spend my time these days. So that's just a thing that applies to any realtor. But I also think selling is going to be more lucrative because there's so many people right now who are in pain. And I also think that a lot of the buyers are uneducated, which could be fine because you educate them and then they get in the deal and that works. But a lot of the uneducated buyers are tire kicking. They think that this is passive income. I remember when I first started, you get a lot of these misconceptions from a lot of these dollar store coaches that are like, oh, this is how I escaped my job and now I'm the most free person in the world. And you're like, right, but you also have an educational product and you also have been doing this for 10 years and you also made a bunch of mistakes that you're not putting into your coaching program. It's like, people can get caught up like that. So I think when the buyers come and they're a little bit confused about what the outcome is actually going to look like, how much you're in touch with cleaners, how much you're in touch with maintenance, the risks of CapEx being something big enough that could potentially blow your whole cash on cash returns. It's like you gotta know. And so for them to go through that process is almost its own little mini coaching sesh, and they often will fall out. And I've talked to a couple people who, I want to buy, and then I explain what the returns are like, and they're like, "Oh, I thought it was more for less work," and I was like, "Well, it isn't." So if you're not here for it, then that's okay. But I can't continue to help you. So I talked to 10 buyers to get one, as opposed to sellers who are like, yeah, list it and let me know when we get an offer. That's just easier.
I got you. Very cool.
And it'll be more fun to
Um,
market because they're sexy properties. I like the sexy properties. I like the luxury properties. Like, check out this pickleball court. Check out this pool. You could have this and you could give this to your friends, family, and clients who are going to pay you even more money than you spent.
100%. Is that where you see you having to be in the business to compete? Like having the amenities and a larger property, is that like the bare minimum now as opposed to a few years ago?
I think in Scottsdale specifically, the answer is a pretty strong yes. Like,
Hmm.
I do think you could get away with other strategies if you are really intensive in your business, meaning the best Airbnb listings, but also maybe you need to build a direct booking flow through a shout out to a company, Go STR, is a friend of mine who owns the company, who's got like a direct booking program to target your past guests from Airbnb stays, have them come back. Maybe you have to do stuff like that. Maybe if you do midterm rentals with insurance companies, like you could do really well with a standard commoditized replaceable property. But if you really want to know that you're the best, then within that discipline, that niche, you have to be the best. So if it's a 3 bedroom, be the best 3 bedroom. Have the pool, have the hot tub, have the social furniture outside. Is there room for a pickleball court? Like, is that too much to ask? Get as much in there as possible, or else you're just replaceable, because a 3 bedroom in Scottsdale looks like every other 3 bedroom in Scottsdale, which used to be hundreds and then thousands, and now I think there's like 3,500 short-term rentals in just a few zip codes around here. It's the demand is high, but the supply is high. So if you're not the best, you're risking. I always say the top 10% properties will always get top 10% results, but middle of the pack properties won't necessarily get middle of the pack results. They might get lower results than that. They might do a little bit better, but it's a gamble. You don't know because you haven't carved out your niche. If you get then into the higher luxury space, the 6 bedroom that I'm overhauling, it's not even good. Like, it sounds sexy because I said 6 bedroom and $3 million, but on its face, it's ugly and there's not a lot to do. So she says, "Can we keep doing short-term rentals?" I said, "Sure, but you're about $500,000 of amenities away." She said, "No problem." She's fine with that. Love
She's
that.
doing it.
So we just went to the moon and was like, okay, now you can compete. Now they're not going to the other place with the lazy river down the block that has the views, because you supplied similar views, a swim up bar, and 10 other things that outweigh the lazy river. But
Hmm.
they spent their whole $200,000 amenities load on the $200,000 lazy river. So, okay, you got one cool thing here, 7 cool things here, but no lazy river. You pick. But to compete at that level, you have to offer the best. Certainly in Scottsdale, it's just too much of a STR mecca right now.
Let's say someone in Scottsdale is listening to this
Sure.
and they have a basic house, 3 bedroom, no pool, no hot tub. It's
Okay.
nice. It's, let's say, a new build, 2024,
Cool.
but it's pretty basic. It's high end finishes, but nothing that's jumping off the page. They have 20 grand, let's say, they want to use to improve the property, give themselves the best chance to get more bookings. Where would you allocate the 20K?
It's a great question. I will also say, when you said new build, that scared me more than the rest of the intro, because that's where you're going to be buying new construction that the guest doesn't appreciate. That's important as a residential buyer. It's like, I'm going to own this house for 30 years. I want it to be in good quality. I don't want to have capex. It's not nothing. But to a guest, they're not saying, "Oh, this is a 2024 model." They're like, "I'm at a house with amenities." So I would be inclined to, if you didn't yet own the property, I would be inclined to find. I operate right now a phenomenal 3 bed, 2 bath that has a 2 bed, 1 bath guest house in the back, no pool, no hot tub, shared yard,
Mm,
which I deal with, and it cranks mostly because of my midterm rental game. But even as an STR, it just absolutely cranks. It's the last 2 units, or the last arbitrage deals I'll hold on to, because I just never miss. Even summer, I just don't miss. So I say summer because that's our slow season. So in that kind of a case, the best things to do, I would say, to make it the most well designed home that you can. All 20K should go into the experience, because
okay.
that is what's going to differentiate you. So if you could put something fun, and I'm not talking like Connect Four in the back. I think that's like a cop out. That's like, what's the cheapest way to make amenities happen? If you have 20K, I would probably say put 10 to a hot tub, give it some sort of a water feature, especially if you don't have the casita that I'm imagining in my 3-2, backyard. Is like, you have the privacy, give them the hot tub. That's a 10K easy win right there, to have some water feature here in Scottsdale where everybody has a water feature. And then spend the extra 10K inside, make everything nice. The details are what matter. And that including pictures. I still see today in 2024 iPhone photos and mid-tier real estate photos where it's, oh no, my sister, I'm a good photographer and I could take the picture. But if a real estate photographer will fix on the windows 5 layers of the same photo so that you could see the inside clearly and the outside clearly instead of a washed window. That's something that a real estate photographer knows how to do that a generic photographer may not. That $750 to get that a professional photographer with the twilight photos and the drone shots and the how far am I from a mountain here in Scottsdale? That to me is important money. Like viscerally, that is critical money that I just won't let a client of mine not spend that $750. Maybe you get it for $500 if you're trying to be short on it, but it's not worth it to be short on it. It's not worth it to be cheap.
Okay.
That's your face. That's your marketing. That's what everybody who's ever going to pay you ever is going to see. And if you get one more booking, let's say 3 nights at $250 a night, one more booking because of that photo shoot, and they kind of liked it, which you will get hundreds more over the course of years, and maybe a dozen more over the course of a year, then it pays for itself. So I would say, yeah, elite details in your marketing and your photos. A hot tub would be a quick 10K out of the 20 in this example that gives you a critical water feature. And then, just things to do. And I don't mean do like Connect Four. I mean do like a fire pit. If you had a fire pit that's not the $230 Home Depot one, but instead it's like a stone fire pit, gas, you got Adirondack chairs all around it. You got a grill right behind you. Outdoor kitchens are great. If you did have a pool, maybe think of expanding that pool's hot tub in something that's more luxurious. The lady I'm talking about now, for 20K, the hot tub upgrade she's doing, I think she had the hot tub before. I think it's going to be bigger. That's why I'm visualizing it weird. But it's going to have fire trim, not a fire pit, but like a line of fire along the pool, and then outside of that is the hot tub. It's just a cool experience. Like, it's a cool vibe. So you give people the energy. With that, we're also putting in a fire pit that's, I don't remember the price, but not expensive. It was like 3 or 4K. Imagine an octagon of wood planks with stands, so it's standing up, and underneath that is the fire pit. So hanging rope chairs, 2 each, 4 benches, and it's hanging in this octagon where you kind of swing in and out around a fire pit. It's not just s'mores now. Now it's social, it's swinging, it's talking, it's cigars. It's like, you got to have the whole experience. So 20K gets you pretty far. And if you didn't do the $10,000 hot tub, it goes even farther. So yeah, I would just focus on the experience and the detail. That's the most important right now.
So I think I heard most of them, but just to recap: hot
Yep.
tub, fire
Big.
pit,
Mm-hmm.
done nicely, Adirondack chairs, maybe lighting above it,
Yeah.
photos. Uh, Inside, it sounds like art or design. Is that like murals or things like that?
Murals have been great to me. I actually had a couple properties where I was able to test it because I was running without a mural for long enough that when I added one, it did start doing better. It looks better in the photos. It gets the extra clicks and the click-through ratio, which then boosts your SEO on Airbnb's website, so you get even more, spirals yourself up. I do really like murals. I also have a 5-bedroom home in North Phoenix that competes with other really high quality 5-bedroom homes with bigger pools, bigger yards, but we have the sickest, most realistic mural of a mountain. It's a big open concept, so the whole living room has like a triangular kind of open space wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge for the dining room, the living room. And so we painted, it was 10K just to get that realistic mural, and it looks like a photo of a mountain. It's gorgeous. And that property cranks. It does really well, despite the fact that we have really good competitor properties around us. So yeah, I do like the mural. I think that's important. Other design components is just, I mean, and not to be like weird about it, but like design at all. Some people just, they're like, I want one nightstand in the bedrooms and, a quick $20 home goods item on the wall. And you're like, that's not cute. It's not homey. It feels like you're doing it because you're supposed to. You're not doing it because you want to set a tone. And that's where the hospitality really comes in. Is like, bring the experience, make them feel like they're somewhere else. They can go to a house anywhere. They live in one, they have friends with them. That's not the sexy part. They can go on vacation anywhere and have that sexy experience and have that hotel kind of service. They're trying to do something in the middle right now. So give them the hotel feel with the house comfort. That's why they're traveling.
For sure. I love it, man. That sounds very tactical and something someone could put in place, just listening to this. And 20K, it's not nothing, but it's not 500K. So it's
Right.
something that they can put into play. I
Certainly
want to
doable.
talk more about the operations of the management business before we get you
Sure.
out of here.
Yeah.
A few like quick tactical questions and then more higher level on how you like to think about certain things.
Happy to.
So as far as in your business right now, and as you scale, who does the communication in your business right now with guests? Is that you? Is that your assistant? Is that someone else? Is it someone that does 9 to 5 and someone that does 5 to 9? How does that get delegated in your business if it does at all?
So I would say 9 times out of 10 right now, Ava Kate steps up and handles it. That includes nights and weekends. She's just always there for me. If I see it lingering and it's on a weekend or a night when she's, doing her own thing, like I respect her personal life and I'll just take the message myself. I don't mind. It's not a real pain point. It's so infrequent right now that I'm dealing with issues. And, so most of the messages are just routine, if not copy pastable or automated in some cases, just like, we're good. We're good. We're good. Oh, give me 1 second. Speaking of which, Ava is 10 minutes early to work and showing
All
up right
good.
now, taking you on a trip. So speaking of the devil, yeah, so she has been handling most of the communications and then I just pick up the extras. But hold on, my whole thing is roasted. This is awkward
All good. I could
podcast.
just edit this out.
All right, cool. Give me 2 seconds. My door's on open. Ah, welcome to my home. Come on. Um, we are live, so I will. Well, all good. Do your thing.
Cool.
So we back. So yeah. Anyway, so the Ava who just walked in is handling the bulk of that, and then I'll just pick it up as needed. We'll probably get a VA dialed in soon. I don't think that is where I'm adamant about having the benefit of a local. I think that is VA-able, but I didn't feel that in the beginning because I had in fact, the low quality properties I was talking about earlier on this show. The types of issues that would come up, I wanted to be involved. And I didn't want a VA. At the very least, it was Patricio, Dana, or Ava. I didn't want a VA involved because it was always an issue. Something was always wrong.
Hmm.
If it was like that, that's when I'm happy to step in still. It just happens so infrequently now that I cut those bad properties and in this higher end space. And I tell that to anybody who's got the financial purchasing power to get into a higher end home. The quality of guests is commensurate with the quality of the property. And so now it's, the comms is not such a pain point. But as we scale back up, which is the intent, like I said, we'll get back to 20. At that point, well before that point, I'll be trusting VAs with quality properties.
Totally. On the communication front, for whoever you plan to do it or just how you think about it now, do you think it's something that someone has to be paid uh, a percentage or tied to the income if there can increase alignment of interest, some type of bonuses or anything that you like to think about creatively? Or do you think, flat rate works well or has worked well for you?
I'm pretty good on the flat rate with the bonuses for successful performance. If a VA could manage to maintain, I have a 4.95 rating on Airbnb overall right now, hundreds of reviews. That's not easy, as everyone who's got an STR knows, and it's important to me because that's now a sales pitch that I use when I'm talking to potential management clients. Certainly, that hey, I have a
Sure.
4.95. Why are you with Vacasa with a 4.4? As well as my realtor clients, I'm like, hey, I know what I'm talking about. Look at my credibility stack. I have a 4.95 after hundreds of reviews. I know how to operate a property seamlessly. This is what's going to happen if you get into this property. And that's just the educational component of the sales. So having that credibility is important to me. I don't want a VA to come in and blow my 4.95 that I've been working on for 4 years. And
Hmm.
so I will, yeah, so I would say it's like a bonus if they can keep fives and do something like that. But generally, like, that's what I'm hiring a VA for. Or even Ava, like, this is just part of the hospitality business. It's if it's the only thing you do, then I could see having a specific structure for that. If you have like a guest comms representative, a specific host who's paid to just sit there and wait for the calls and can, fill their day with the little other admin stuff. But on the whole, like that's part of the business. It's my expectation that you're answering the messages fast. There's nothing you could be doing that's more important than taking money in. So if guest is saying I would like to book, your answer is yes, let's go, get them in.
Hmm.
So it's been pretty easy to manage, even when we were in the VA era.
Cool. You mentioned earlier getting a bad review removed. Could you walk us through your process of how you do that?
I'm ruthless. I'm ruthless. I started setting that up in the beginning. So before I got into real estate, I was an attorney, and I literally treat it like a court case. I've learned all the rules of what you could do to get a review removed. I know them very well. And
Uh-huh.
so if I start seeing the guest is going to be difficult, and you all know the signs, the red flags of the guy who's got too many questions and he wants the discount, and then this is wrong and that's wrong, and it's like, oh, I can't figure out the light that 100% of past guests have figured out, so it's not broken. It's like all right, this is not going to go well. I foresee their neediness means that there's going to be a 4-star review or lower. So I'll start talking to them in certain ways and like figuring out things of like uh, just making sure the inbox says the things that I want Airbnb to see and then doesn't say the things that I don't want them to see. I'll text them personally if we're talking about damages. But if it's something that does work, like, hey, no, just fix this, then it's in there. And then by the time we're done, I kind of know whether or not to expect a 4-star review, at which point I'll call Airbnb. I don't care if I have to call 4, 5, 6, 7 reps, depending on how important that listing is or that review. You know, if I have a 4.9 and now it goes from 4.92 to 4.90, not the end of the world. But if I have a 5.0 clean and my client is proud of that, and now it's a 4.98, so I got to call. So I'll call a few reps until somebody agrees with me, and I'll just explain, hey, this is retaliatory. For example, the easiest one is what we were doing yesterday, and the example I was referring to. We
Hmm.
have a guest who's been high maintenance. He says the dishwasher's broken, and it isn't. He said, this is broken, and it wasn't. This is missing, and it wasn't. This is trash. Okay, it's a razor under the bed. You're gonna be okay. It's like, but we know a 4-star is coming. When he checked out, we had $10 in towels to claim. Not a big deal. Oftentimes, I won't even claim that, but we're like, get that claim in as fast as possible because now if he leaves us a bad review, we call Airbnb and say, hey, it was retaliatory. This guest was not going to leave us a bad review until he saw that we charged him for $10 in towels. Look at the message he sent us this morning saying this is a little bit unfair that you're charging me for towels. Like, well, you damaged him. Now I call Airbnb and say, hey, it was retaliatory. That review shouldn't hold. Um,
Tying it
Another
together.
example, I got a guy right now I'm going to take down today. He left us a 4. He said they should have told me that the backyard was shared in that 3-bedroom house I was talking about. Okay, but we do say it's shared. So if it's in the description or the settings, call Airbnb. Hey, I properly disclosed it. That's actually not allowed on my profile as a review because I properly did what I was supposed to do. If the guest didn't read it, that's his fault. And this review is irrelevant is the word that they'll use for that one. It's not relevant for the next guest's decision because I do disclose it in my description. So
I
I just
gotcha.
know all the rules and then just make sure to
Interesting.
push
No, I
Airbnb.
love it. I'd love to dig into that more. Honestly, it's like I think it's something that people just let go, or they just you see
Yeah.
on Facebook a lot of times, like, it's just the cost of business, or
Right.
don't submit a claim, or if you submit claims, you'll get retaliatory review. So, actually, do you have like? I know we're gonna go over. Do you have
No,
like
I'm good.
5 more minutes? Because that is
Yeah,
something that then I think people would get value out of like
sure.
the claim process. Because I think what some people do is they don't submit claims if the amount is under a certain amount,
Right.
or I've seen other people where they will open the claim and then once the guest review window ends after 14 days, then they'll submit the rest of the claim to avoid retaliatory, I guess, like hit.
Yep.
How do you do it, or do you do it one of those ways or that way?
So I think, and this wasn't always the case. I often did it in some of those similar ways, but lately, with a recent-ish rule update, Airbnb has been more protective of hosts for retaliatory reviews. So I'm now very quick to file. It now is strategically filing. I probably wouldn't have cared about the $10 just because I'm so busy with other activities, whether it's fulfillment or revenue generating. $10 doesn't hurt enough that I need to go spend my time, my VA's time. I'm going to pay $6.50 to go put in the claim, and then I make 4.5 back. Like, what are we doing here? So there's a threshold of impracticability. You just don't even want to focus on the little numbers. But anything higher than that, 25, $50, like if it's going to get you more money in than it costs the VA to do it, then don't have any fear. Drop that
Hmm.
claim right away. It can actually only help now because what I do, like I was just explaining, is you call Airbnb after they leave a bad review. You say that review is because of the fact that I charged them, nothing about the experience. We handled every issue that came up. He said the dishwasher didn't work, but it did. And we got it fixed in 7 seconds. The only thing that actually bothered this guy was the fact that he got charged $10, and that's retaliatory. Even if the dishwasher was broken, that's not appropriate, and we ask that you take it down, and they will. So I file those claims right away, and I
So
have a
interesting.
very polite paragraph that I basically copy paste into each of them saying, hey, we're sorry that we have to charge you. This is just, a nature of how this works in Airbnb hospitality, something like that. Like this is just how it goes. Like sometimes we have to charge because whatever I say. And we would appreciate your cooperation if you could help us cover the loss that was
Love it.
attributed to your stay. And sometimes it's easy and they just pay it. And sometimes it's, it's a bit of a fight. A lot of the times if it gets that tense, what I've noticed is guests won't even leave a review because they're mad. And it's almost like them in their head being nice. They're like, well, I'm just not going to say anything. Good. Don't. I don't need every review
Hmm.
to be a 5. I'd rather a no review than a 4. Keep moving. So yeah, I'm very
So
very quick to
interesting.
file. am not very afraid anymore. I think, like I said, if it's $10 and it's going to make you $3.50 back, forget it. But if it's going to be meaningful money, don't forget it. There's no fear.
What would you say your win rate is on claims? Or I guess win rate and yeah, win rate being a review removed. Now, I'm not even talking about like air
Mm.
cover, but I'm saying like, what do you think your win rate is of? Let's say you open a claim and then the guest gets a little angry and then they leave a negative review. What would you say your win rate of getting that review removed is?
It's tough to quantify not knowing how many reviews I've taken down, but I'll just say I'm at a 495 with hundreds of reviews, and that includes some low quality properties and some brutal guests. So I mean, my win rate is substantial. I'm near 100%. Near 100%. If you know the
Amazing.
rules and you can communicate, and I'm very professional, obviously even a little less or at least different energy than I'm at right now when I'm talking to Airbnb, right? It's like you're talking to customer support in the Philippines. Like you treat them a certain type of way that is more this, so then this, so then this. There's not emotions. We're not trying to be friends. Factually speaking, this is your process. And if they retaliate, then that you can take the review down. I've had them say, run it up to your manager. Oh, I don't think we have to investigate this. Let me call you back. No, 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 no. When this happens, this is considered retaliation. When retaliation happens, the review can be taken down. I'm calling to take
Hmm.
down the review from retaliation. There's no gray area here. Please take this down. And if you push back, they'll either do it, they'll run up to the supervisor, or you call the next guy who understands what you're talking about. So yeah, very, very high win rate. To your earlier point about how some people just say they cost doing business or they don't even want to get caught up in it, there's merit to that, emotionally and vibrationally. If you don't want to be the type of person who's caught up in disputing reviews because you're busy generating revenue and adding doors, that's fine. I
Yeah.
think that applies to people with 10 plus properties. If you have 10 plus properties under management, or you own it and you're just trying to figure out how to make the most money in your main business and your other real estate deals, and this is just another thing, fine. I get not getting sucked in, and I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy the litigation of reviews anymore. I did it first because I thought it was cool for winning a lot, but now it's now it's frustrating. But it's like that type of person. If you're that high level professional operator, fine. If you have less than 10 doors, it's worth it. AirDNA came out with a study last year that showed that you will make 20% more money having it was a 4.9 instead of a 4.5. If you have
Wow.
4.9 instead of a 4.5, you make 20% more money. Now, granted, that's a huge span, right? 4.9 is some of the best operators we have, and 4.5 is some of the worst operators we have. That's where Vacasa and Good Stay sit compared to, locals, STR secret students who actually care and, whatever. So we're at the extremes, but 20% is a lot of money, especially in some of these higher end homes. You're talking about $100,000 a year. That's the 20K you just spent on our design hypothetical a minute ago is coming back because you cared about your reviews, because it did matter to you not to be at a 4.7. It's fine. 4.8. I'm one of the best. Be a 4.9 plus. That's the kind of operations you want to
Hmm.
run. Be clean.
Really, really good. I think people are going to get so much value out of that. Honestly,
Yes.
even I didn't know that there was like a change and like we've had a decent record fighting reviews. Probably same as you. We don't get a ton, but like we have one property it gets guests that aren't maybe always the highest tier and that
Yeah.
can lead to problems.
Yeah.
So um, but I think in general, we've done it and a lot of other people do it. Like you just, I'll say it, like I'm not ashamed to say it, just give up. Like you don't go high enough on the ladder. You talk to someone at Airbnb, maybe you talk to a second or maybe a third, and it's like, not getting anywhere. But it's the squeaky wheel. Like you
Right.
will have a better chance of getting your resolution or the way you want it. Like the higher you go and the more you fight. So that's what
That's
I'm
it.
taking away from what you say, and it's just a great point.
Yeah, 100%. And look, there's some that you can't win. If they just say, pretty good stay, thumbs up, 4 star. I got one of those like that was a 3 star. It's like, okay, are you kidding me? And there's nothing to argue against. Everybody's like, this is not a violation. They had a pretty good stay. And I'm like, okay, if you insist.
I
But
don't,
like,
did you fight that one or no?
you try. I tried in the beginning. Now I can read it and I'm like, okay, I could definitely win because it violates this rule. It's gray area. It's worth trying. Or no, this is just a very normal, generic review and I'm just toast.
What
It
we do
just is.
on those, you may have tried this, or maybe a reason you don't do it. Maybe someone listening could get value out of this. Is like those are the worst. Those are the most frustrating because there's really nothing you can do. What we
Yeah.
do on those is, I forget who told me this, but we like tweaked it a little bit. Now we'll get in touch with those people. We'll say, hey, can we just do a quick phone call? We want to see how we could improve the experience, what we could maybe do better. We saw some things in the internal notes, blah blah blah. get on the phone with them, like start heavy with that, and then say, hey, what we want to do is offer you like a partial refund or a discount. We're going to get together and huddle and get back with you, and we'll set up another call and just kind of go over it with you. On
Yep.
that second call, what we do is say, hey, here's what it is. We'll offer you $100 back, but not sure if you know this or not, but like a 3 or 4 star review is like getting a 20 out of 100 on a test. Like it'll kill you in school. Like it's the chance of it's like you getting into college or not. And for our small business, like it has a huge impact. So we're happy to give a refund or a discount on a future stay, but all we ask is, would you mind just removing the review?
Yep.
That has had like an almost 100% hit rate as long as we get the person on the call and then on the second call. The
Yeah.
reaction is almost always the same. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. We've even had people say, I accidentally hit 3 stars. Can I change it? Unfortunately, this, you can't change a review, it just has to be removed. But for those out there that have had some of those, or I don't know, maybe you've tried that or not, but it's just something that it's one of those little things that it's made a huge difference on the type that people didn't even mean it or didn't know what they were doing, and those are the most frustrating. So highly recommend that to anyone out there that's just ever gotten one of those.
Yeah, I did that in the very beginning as well. I would call the people, and I actually like your two call method. I think that gets them really secure in the outcome of like, okay, this guy cares, he's nice. Literally 2 phone calls to give me money after the stay. Like, yeah, I'm not
Exactly.
surprised with your nearly 100% rate. Like that's beautiful. I would do it I would do either a call at the end sometimes, and I'd be like, hey, like again, to your point, educate them. They don't even know
They don't know.
how bad a 3 and a 4 is. So to them, a 4 is like, yeah, it's pretty good. Not like, oh, I blew it. So
Yeah.
like you got to educate them, and I have had success having people take reviews down that way. I don't do it like that with the money part. I have to always be careful not to say it because I know that Airbnb has a specific rule about no money for review removal. Like that could get your account banned. And I've
Yeah.
dealt with account suspensions, I've done with listing suspensions, like all the worst things that Airbnbs can throw at you. I've dealt with corporate more than I would have liked. And
Yeah.
it's been very expensive to deal with that stuff too, of like down properties.
Yeah.
So I just have to be super careful, keep my nose clean, and not offer money in exchange for the review down. But I have done that. I think I'm at a point now where even with the 5 I have, but certainly when I was running 10 and 15 and 22, it was like there was no way that I was going to be able to make that call every time, especially if the guest was like actually unhappy. So I dropped the ball on that for a little bit and kind of stopped making the calls to ask them to take it down. But what I had been doing, and I'm kind of slowing up on this a little bit as well, but a lot of times I'll call during the stay. Talk about like treating it like litigation. Like
Mm,
there's also like compassion that you can try to invoke before it's too late, where I'll educate them in advance and I'll say, hey, I know you're checking out tomorrow. Look, I don't expect a 5 star review if you didn't feel like you got a 5 star experience. I know these things all came up and they were all legitimate. I completely agree with you. It sucks that you have to spend your whole week washing dishes. I am so sorry for your inconvenience. But the truth is these 4 and 3 star reviews kill us. I say they take me out of search, and Airbnb doesn't even let me make money for a short period of time, or at least not as much. And it only hurts me in the end, as it just comes right down to my money. And so
mhm.
if there's anything you could do to not leave any review, I would honestly appreciate that over a 4 star review. I'd say I'll probably 75% success rate of them saying like, all right, like I just won't say anything, or no, I'll leave you a 5. It's all good, or like
I
I just
like
I
that a
just
lot.
wanted to let you know. How many times people say I just wanted you to be aware.
I like that a lot. That's really good. We're going to implement that. Just sometimes people, they don't even want to leave a review. Sometimes they think they might have to. It's again, there's so many uneducated people that they don't know. So if you tell them you don't have to or don't,
Notifications.
yeah, then it's like they can just not think about it, and then everyone walks away with a win. Um, One last question, just since we're talking, and it's something that we've been kicking back and forth. At one of our properties, it would be we want to put in a fire pit, and I heard you mention it before. I've seen it go both ways in different areas and different types of properties of wood, gas, propane. If you leave wood, people might abuse it, or if you don't, people might get annoyed, or they might start ripping down trees on your property. How do you how do you recommend that for your clients? If a client says, "Hey, I want to put in a fire pit," also one last thing I'll say is like then there's the extra operational component of like providing wood, and someone has to buy that, or you have to store it. So then it's like factoring in all these little pros and cons. So for us, it just hasn't been a top priority, but it's a low cost thing that I think will make a big impact at one of our mountain properties. So curious, like if you were coaching me, what would you recommend?
I would say the wood replacement and the propane replacement are like relatively equally annoying. Probably with I'd prefer the propane replacement, but you're right. It is just one extra step of make sure you have it and have it
Yep.
on order. I don't know which one would be more expensive because I don't do the wood. I all the ones I've done it for have been gas, just by nature of how I've operated, whatever. Not by choice. I wouldn't
Gotcha.
be opposed to wood as long as there was someone who's like a runner who's, yeah, once a week I will deliver a few new logs and check the status. If you have 4 weeks worth of logs just against your fence and you're only using some of them, then you can replace. You're never going to be out completely.
Right.
So I think that's probably the thing, depending on how your property's laid out. Is there a good place to store it, for weather, for bugs, for whatever, for aesthetics? If that's a thing, then I don't think I'd be averse to wood, but gas has been easy. Just replace the propane tank and, have a company handle it, and it's been, just any other vendor. So
Gotcha.
I think that's been fine. I think the more important thing is the experience of the fire pit. If you're doing wood because you bought one of those $200 Home Depot bowls that people could sit around, and then some, yard chairs, like, okay, that's a fire pit. It's better than not having a fire pit.
Right.
But I would say, like, make it lean in. If you spend 1,000 or 2,000, which sounds crazy for a fire pit you get for $200. Yeah, but if you get a few bookings because that fire pit was better, or a few good reviews that lead to more bookings because that experience was nice, and the furniture, they sit down, they're like, oh, this is like a hotel. This is a thick cushion. Like, I want to hang out here. I want to smoke a cigar. I want to talk to my wife. I want to, be here. Like,
Right.
all we're doing is curating experiences. It doesn't mean you got to give them activities. It just means you're giving them a place to be and feel. And if that
Totally.
fire pit is a place that feels good, then they're not worried about, where's all the wood? Like, I have to carry it myself, light it. Oh, that's the other thing, I guess, igniting it. I had to do that as a guest one time. It was kind of a hassle. So I don't know, maybe propane's just easier, give them a key. But then they're losing the key. I don't know. It's always something, right? So it
Totally.
kind of, I don't think you can go wrong with either one, but just make it somewhere you want to be.
Yep. Love it. Mike, I know we went over, but I
Happy
just
to.
thought the last part there was super valuable, so
Good. I hope
appreciate
so.
that. Where can
My
people find
pleasure.
out more about you, or if they're looking for help buying or selling, or I know you do some one-on-one consulting,
Yes.
let us know.
Yeah, sure. So easiest way to get a hold of me just in general and just be in my ecosystem is Instagram. I would love for people to add me on Facebook. My assistant Ava makes fun of me for being a Facebook guy because I'm old apparently now. I didn't know that
Me
was a
too.
thing, but we've crossed that threshold where Facebook is for old people. I guess that's always been true, but now I am old people. That part's new. And so Facebook, I do want to start building that up too. You can find me on all over all the Facebook groups and communities. You can find me Mike Stone on Facebook, Mike Stone Group on Instagram. And then if you're actually looking to transact, if you feel like you want to buy or sell a short-term rental, reach out to me via email, MikeStone@savvy.realty, SAVVY.realty, and I'll set you up. I'll take care of you anywhere in Arizona. If you need to be in a different market, I got a guy. I guarantee you I got a guy, whether it's with Savvy in the markets that they're in. If you have an interest in a market they're not in, I guarantee you I got a guy. So that's it if you're actually looking to transact. My management company, if you're looking for management or consulting, you can reach out to me at MikeStone at zivaestates.com. ZIVA. Ziva Estates is my management business, separate from Savvy. They have nothing to do with each other, really, in theory, other than it's all related. So I'm vertically integrated. I can help you from buy, build, design, operate, and exit if you need to. So anything, the best way to get hold of me, either of those emails or DM me. I'm trying to be very active on social again and make that a thing. So happy to
Love
help
it.
anyone I can.
Mike, you the man. This was
You the man.
awesome. We finally connected, got
Yeah,
a ton
man.
of value here, and I know people listening to this are going to do the same and reach out. So appreciate
Yeah,
you jumping on. If you need anything, or we could do another one of these, that'd be fun in the future. But really
love it.
appreciate it, and thanks for coming
Love
on.
it. No, thank you for having me, man. It's been a pleasure to be here. Great to finally connect with you in a meaningful way.
For sure, man. All right, later.
Take care.